Now I just sit in silence. Now I just sit in silence. Hello, if you're watching this. Just getting started, yo. Still getting started. Oh, people are here. Welcome, people. All right, let me go to this page. Mute myself. Who all is here? I think 3 people watching, including me so far. Yeah, don't worry. Hey, Satsu, welcome. Glad that you are here. I'm going to get started in just a second. Gathering the troops. Hey, Saul, how's it going, man? Glad that you are here. Got to exit out of a lot of useless tabs. Oh, there we go. There we go. Sweet. Okay, I'm going to test this to make sure it's working. No, I don't want that. Sorry, advanced indicator. Customize. Nope. Don't want that either. Oh, yeah, just a minute or 2 more. We'll get started, guys. Yeah, Sassy, that notepad. I hope that it is worthy of your notepad? I feel confident that it will be, but you never know. Maybe you already know everything that I'm going to say. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. Let's screen share for a second and see what that looks like. Yeah, okay, good. Looks like it's working, yo. I disappeared, now I'm back. Okay. Now that there are a few of you guys, okay, so here's how my classes usually work. I just finished up giving the final exam for my residential class this semester. Wait, I gotta look at this camera. There we go. I just finished giving the final exam for my residential class this semester. And now, guys, we're gonna give what may be the first ever pop song professor lecture. I had one that was like a series of lectures about 21 Pilots, but I don't know if I want to count that. I think I might more count this. Because this is the kind of lecture that I'd love to give a lecture on 21 Pilots, but this is the kind of lecture that I would really like to give locally or in person, or to travel to talk to songwriters about. And you guys are the first people to get it. Eventually, I may share this lecture with the larger audience in sort of a live stream format, but you guys are my guinea pigs, and there's not going to ever be one exactly like this. So that being said, oh yeah, I was gonna say, the way that I run my classes, I like to see who's there. So if you are here, I'd love for you to hit me up in the chat, in the comments. And it looks like we have one person. Mattia is here on Google Hangout. Welcome, Mattia, and welcome, obviously, Satsu, Saul, and Mercier. It is so good to have you guys here, as well as the other silent couple of people who are here as well. So really good to have you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this lecture. There we go. Technology, yeah. Oh, Malu's here. Welcome, Malu. Yeah, it's kind of a prerequisite that if you're going to be a faculty member and you're over the age of 18, well, I thought that people my age would be able to handle technology, but apparently not. But anyway, here we go. All right. Any problems so far? Let me know if there are problems in the chat, guys. Oh, Savaris826, hello, and welcome. So today we're talking about the magical songwriting process, and then we're going to get into some Q&A here at the end. It's going to go about half and half. We should be done by about 5 p.m. But basically, the magical songwriting process is a process that I put together to help you write a good song every time, with a focus on writing personal, authentic lyrics that will help you to better communicate like who you are, to communicate with an audience, to connect with an audience. But not only all of that good feely stuff there, but also I want you to be able to create lyrics that sound good. So typically what I'm looking for in really good lyrics, one, are they original and honest and heartfelt? And then two, do they sound good? And that's the ultimate goal here, is we want original lyrics, we want powerful lyrics, we want them to sound good. And a good way to measure that, even though it's still difficult to measure, is to ask, how do those lyrics affect people? What do people say when they hear your lyrics? How does it make them feel? What does it make them think about? So we can't divorce lyrics from their target audience. And I think that's a really good thing to clarify quickly, is that whether your lyrics are successful or not completely depends on not only your goal, which we'll talk about in a second, but also who you are writing your lyrics for. So if you are writing your lyrics for yourself, then, if you like them, you're good to go. If you're writing them for your aunt, if your aunt likes them, you're good to go. And you've written good lyrics that were successful. Are you writing your lyrics for self-therapy? Well, did you feel some self-therapy? Yes, then there you go, good lyrics. So really, the thing that I see song lyrics frustrated with, or songwriters frustrated with the most, is that they don't always clarify what the goal is. They don't always say, yeah, I want to write lyrics for this reason. And so they just kind of go off into the nether regions of creativity, and they keep wondering, when is this song going to be good? But they've never established a way to measure whether it's good or not. And so we want to each have our own personal definition of what makes a good song. Are you just trying to be clever and put some puns in? Well, were you clever and did you put some puns in? Yes. Okay, there you go. This was a good song. There are a lot of different standards and rationales, and it's going to differ from song to song, but I recommend that as you write your song, or even before, if it's possible, some people's creative process won't allow it, ask yourself, hey, did I set up a goal? And then at the end of it, ask yourself, did I accomplish it? And my recommendation is that you don't try to set up a goal that is, hey, I'm going to write a pop hit that goes to #1 and stays there for forever. That is not a good goal to start with. You'll be chasing the wind for forever. That's a lottery type thing, or connections, and that's something you could maybe build up to if that's what you wanted to do. But also, you don't want to write a song that is trying to save the world. And what I mean by that is something I tell my students when they write essays, is I tell them, it is not about trying to fix all the problems in the world in one essay. And it's the same with song lyrics. It's not about trying to fix all the problems in the world. It's just about talking about your personal piece of the pie and talking about your experiences, your goals, your passions. But you have to narrow it down to just one thing. Not even one song can encompass all of you. And so you have to pick something specific. So we have to decide on an audience, we have to decide on a purpose, and we have to decide on a goal. I guess goal and purpose are the same thing. I guess we have to decide on the subject. All right. So when we'll talk about coming up with the topic for your songs in a second. Nathan, welcome. Glad you're here. So next, the question is, what are good lyrics? Because the magical songwriting process is guaranteed to get you good lyrics every time. And this goes a lot back to the goal we were just talking about. Good lyrics are lyrics that fit your goal. And if your goal is, even if your goal was to hurt other people emotionally and make them have a terrible day, as long as you did that, those would technically be good lyrics. I'm putting out a video within the next week or so that's going to talk about good, beautiful, and true as objective standards for what makes a song good or not. And basically what good means is, does it match its goal? So you have to set that goal. The magical songwriting process will help you to match that goal. All right. So let's talk about the magical songwriting process. #1, brainstorm. And you guys have probably seen me talk about some of this before. Maybe you've got it in a handout, but we're going to go in depth on this in this video. So brainstorm. We have to come up with ideas. And I have a few ways that I recommend people do that. Free writing, write as fast as you possibly can. Journal, get really honest with yourself. I did that this morning and it was really cathartic. And by the end of it, you'll start saying things or putting sentences down or phrases or ideas that pop into your mind that you'll say, oh, that could actually be the lyric to a song, or that could be something that I could build off of. And I guarantee you, you'll probably start out with a crap idea. Like I started writing about, oh gosh, what was it? I don't remember what it was, but I started writing about the first thing that came to mind, and it didn't really get me anywhere. It wasn't even that like emotionally cathartic, and it definitely wouldn't have made a song. But as I kept going, my brain was kind of working through the top layer of stuff and getting to the deeper stuff. So journal for a long time. Last time when I wrote that poem for 100,000 subscribers, I think I probably journaled like 10 pages before I felt like I had journaled enough to be able to really narrow down a topic for that song. Now, it may not take you as long, it may take you longer, but journaling, free writing, mind mapping, those are really good ways to do that. Sound vomiting is an idea that I came up with, and it's basically where you pick a sound that you want to hear in your song a lot, and then you just come up with words that are similar, but then you can use those words to come up with a topic. Maybe your brain will lead you to a word that sounds similar, but also has personal significance to you. So do not self-censor. Just keep going. Don't wait. Get as many ideas out there as you can, and don't spend time thinking about how bad they are or how dumb you are or anything like that. You got to turn off the self-consciousness, and you've got to work through all the ideas. There might be a good idea that you think is bad. There might be a bad idea that you think is good. You got to work through the bad ones, and I guarantee you the percentage or the ratio of good to bad songs will get better as you keep going, but it's almost guaranteed your first idea is going to be awful. So keep working, keep writing, keep free writing and journaling until you just have this mess of like brain vomit everywhere. And then you will go to step #2. Step #2 is where you narrow out of all the stuff you journaled. And if you finish journaling and you say, hey, I don't have an idea I like here, journal some more. Once you do that and you pick an idea that you really like, and the measurement here for whether it's your favorite idea is really its happiness. Because now I say happiness. Some people may, you may also use it for catharsis, or gosh, the word catharsis. And you may say, hey, I really need to work through some deep stuff. Right. But sometimes happiness doesn't always look like smiling. Sometimes true inner happiness comes from working through the deep stuff. Don't pick a song that you know is just going to result in suffering. Don't pick an idea, and don't flog yourself, and don't feel bad if you can't come up with a good one, even if it's just silly ideas, but it sounds like fun to do. Go with it, right? Or if it would be healthy for you to do and you kind of don't want to, but you know you should go for it. Then you're going to take that idea and narrow it. So if I came up with the idea of like being stressed out, we'll just take that because that is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. It's not enough to say, wow, I have been working so much. Well, I mean, you can't write a song about just being stressed out because it's kind of a common idea. So I have to ask myself, what does that mean for me? Now, obviously, we've all heard Stressed Out by 21 Pilots. For him, he talks about the treehouse homes. He talks about the candles. He talks about singing. That first verse is him being stressed out because he feels like he can't come up with songs or lyrics that are going to be good enough. So he makes it personal. He narrows it down to something that's specific and related to him. It's connected to his perspective, but it becomes bite-sized. Now, he does kind of talk about the aging process and a couple of other things in Stressed Out. And so it changes and it grows a little bit, but each stanza is bite-sized. And the topic overall is about being stressed out related to himself. You don't want to just talk about the concept of being stressed out. You got to tell your story. At least in the narrowing process, because you can't tell anybody else's story until you know your own. Yeah, so make it concrete is a good piece of advice. It's just about asking yourself, what are some examples or some instances of this that connect to me? So for Tyler Joseph, it meant the treehouse. If I was going to talk about being stressed out, I would talk about, how many hours I put in a day, or I would talk about not having time to do the things that I love because I was stuck doing the things that I had to do or something like that. So you narrow it and you really kind of figure out what you personally have to say about this topic. Step 3, you brainstorm and refine. So you take that idea and now you need to journal about it more. You need to refine that idea and you just need to do a lot of it. So maybe with the earlier brainstorming, you only spend on step 1, like maybe 3 pages. Well, now you do the rest of the pages and you really ask yourself, what do I have to say about this topic? How does this topic relate to me? Who am I in relation to this topic? And what is this topic in relation to me? Journaling is an excellent way just to get the ideas out there. Sometimes it can be painful, a little bit scary, particularly for personality types like myself, but it's always worth it. Yeah, do it a lot. And if you can't think of something to say, then the best way to do this is to pull in more information. It's probably, especially if you feel writer's block, it's probably a good chance that you just don't have enough data to go off of. So talking to other people about their experiences with this thing, or watching a Netflix documentary, watching some YouTube videos, reading some Wikipedia, or something like that, it might open some doors for you. A lot of times I think that doors are like information locks, and the only way to bust them open is either with the swift kick of knowledge or with the key of knowledge, whatever awful metaphor you want. So pull in some information. And then as you look back over your brainstorming and your journaling, go and highlight specific lines or ideas or thoughts that you think would work really well in the song and that stick to the general central topic, all right? So that's kind of where you say, oh, I really like this word, or I really like this little concept here, or I like this line, or I like the thing I'm talking about here. I want to look into that some more. You probably noticed by now that the way that I approach songwriting is very much based on research into yourself. So a lot of this is very personal. It can be existential, but it's very internal. But don't be afraid to make it external by talking, reading, or listening to other things. And listening to other music is a great way to do this too. Listen to other people talking and then ask about how that differs from the way you think about something, or listen to a song and ask yourself, well, what kind of similarities do I share there? You just have to keep taking in information, thinking about it, processing it. And that's the way to just unlock doors in your brains. Okay, next one, simplify. And I think it's very appropriate that this one is a shorter slide because it's simpler. So now you need to simplify. Basically what this means is I don't think that it's super easy. It's possible, but it's not super easy to put a song together until you really know what's going on. And it looks like Sandra showed up. Welcome, Sandra. So what my recommendation is here for you guys is that you take the idea of your song, kind of the central topic you've thought of at this point, put it into 10 words or fewer. I said 10 words or less. The proper grammar is 10 words or fewer. Let me just go ahead and fix that real quick. Ooh, there we go. You need to understand your song before you share it with others. That's a big key, because I think a lot of times, now that doesn't mean that when you're free writing and journaling, you can't do it in song lyric form. But before you start the process of trying to say something in a song, I highly recommend that you know what you're trying to say. And a lot of people use the songwriting process for self-discovery, and I think that's really good. But I think that there's a difference between free writing or journaling songwriting and then putting together lyrics in an order that will eventually be something you could put to music. And I think both of those processes are really important, but I would put the former in steps 1 and 3. But here in step 4, take that pile of lyrics that you've put together, or that journaling or whatever, and condense it down into 10 words and ask yourself, what am I trying to say here? One of the biggest sins that modern songwriters, not so much pop songwriters, they're really good about this because their songs are very simple. But typically, like the deeper songwriters, is that it's really hard to codify or explain what their song is about or what's going on, because it touches on so much, it rambles. And what I really want you guys to do is simplify. If you feel like you can't put it into 10 words or fewer, it's probably a good sign that you actually could split it into 2 separate songs. So trust me on that one, it will be worth it. Step 5, and in case you're wondering, there are 9 steps, 15 slides, so stick with me here. Number 5 is you need to create a basic stanza skeleton outline. So you've got your central idea or your thesis statement, and then you need to put together the organization of your song. So I recommend, if you're just starting out, a really good one to start with, especially if you want to kind of stretch and grow yourself in terms of different types of stanzas: verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus. So if you'll notice, it starts out with some slick storytelling. We transition into the central idea. We go back to storytelling, transition back into the central idea. We look at things from a whole new perspective, and then we go back to the main theme or idea. That's usually a pretty good way to summarize the different parts of stanzas or the different types of stanzas. And that's the way to look at this. If what I want you to do after that is, once you've said, all right, this is kind of the structure I want to work with, and to be fair, that might change, but just start with the basic skeleton one that you can work with. A lot of times the enemy of done is perfect, because people are saying, well, I want to pick the exact right stanza structure. No, don't waste time doing that. Spend your time just getting something out there, and then you can tweak it later. All right. I think the biggest thing, if you guys take nothing else away from this, the number one biggest thing that I would give you is just this adjuration to not worry about being perfect. Stop being self-conscious. It's easy for me to say, it's hard for me to do, and it's going to be hard for you to do. But just enjoy the creative process rather than always being worried about the product. You're never going to make anything perfect, so just go for 90%. Still an A, but just go for 90%. You'll be a lot happier, trust me. So what I want you to do after you've done that is, for every stanza, describe the stanza, what that stanza is about, in 10 words or fewer. Again, this is all for the purpose of organization and unity, so that your lyrics don't just sound good and aren't just original, but they tell a story, and they have this concept that stays unified throughout, right? And as you do that, keep in mind the functions of each stanza: storytelling, theme, different perspective, transitioning from storytelling to the theme. All right. So that's the outline. After that, you got to choose. This is the part that I think is probably the most fun: choosing euphonic links and sonic thumbprints. There are a lot of different poetic devices out there. You've got rhyme, alliteration, consonants, assonance, multisyllabic rhymes, phrases or words you can repeat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The repetition is probably the one that I have in the past given the least credence to. But if you have a phrase that's really catchy, and that kind of, especially if it encapsulates the idea of your song, maybe it's a phrase from your 10-word or fewer sentence, that might be a good one to have people say a couple of times. I guarantee you audiences will appreciate it, especially if it's just not some mindless, sentence. I would jump in cool water for you over and over and over again. If it's coming from the heart, people want to repeat things, okay? Trust me, they just do. If you've listened to the second bridge of Holding Out by 21 Pilots, not Holding Out, Holding On to You by 21 Pilots, I'm thinking of 1187, like Lean With It, Rock With It, When Are We Gonna Stop With It? It's a complicated, meaningful piece of repetition that is probably most people's favorite part of the song. The alliteration is just using the same first letter of different words that are close together. Consonants is using the same consonant sounds. I put out a video recently that talked about consonants a lot. You look at the taxi cab video, it talks about that. Assonance is using similar vowel sounds a lot. Rhymes you're familiar with. Multisyllabic rhymes you're probably familiar with. But the basic idea here is choose some euphonic links that you want to work with, or grow in working with, or that you're comfortable working with, and then play around with them. So you come up with a rhyme, think about the ideas you've been talking about, put down a word on the paper, and then come up with all the things that rhyme with that word. Or you want to do alliteration, you say, hey, I really want to use the first letter W. Or you don't even have to say that. You just, hey, back earlier when I made that sentence for the chorus, I used this sentence to describe the chorus, and it had the word water in it. I really like the word water. So what are some other letters or words that start with the sound or with the W sound? And then you list all of those. So you're doing the brainstorming process again, but instead of using concepts, you're brainstorming sounds. So you're building up this bank of information to work with so that you can put together your song effectively and beautifully. The reason we have poetic devices, and to be fair, you don't have to use any of these if you don't want to. Sometimes they can distract from the story. So you can skip step 6 sometimes. But I recommend definitely practicing this. The reason we use these repetitions of sounds, whether it's a phrase, a word, or a letter, is because it's what gives a song a sense of unity and beauty and purpose. When we hear a rhyme, we know the rhyme was intentional most of the time. I just rhymed unintentionally, for example. But when you hear that rhyme, it's intentional most of the time, and it shows that this person put care, and you can feel it. And there's something about hearing the same sound over again that just gives your brain the sense of epiphany or the sense of recognition that makes it say, oh, wow, this is not only easier to remember, but it feels more profound or more interesting. Now, sometimes different types of devices or poetic devices are going to give a different sort of vibe or idea. Sometimes people think that rhyme is a little bit kitschy, or a little bit comedic. Sometimes alliteration can be very, very silly if you use it too much. So a lot of this is about using it in moderation and using it well, rather than using too much of it or leaning too hard on one. That's going to be up to you and what you want to do. But my final recommendation is just to brainstorm lots of each of these. Number 7, combine your outline and sounds. And this is where you draft the song. So you've got the idea of each stanza. Okay, so take that idea of that stanza, look at the pile of euphonic links and sonic thumbprints you just made. By the way, I should probably explain this. A euphonic link is a poetic device. It's basically you say, hey, I want to use consonants. That's the euphonic link or the good sound link that I want to use. A sonic thumbprint is when you say, all right, we use alliteration as an example. So the sonic thumbprint is when you say, all right, I want to do alliteration. Well, what about the wet whales were wild in the water? That particular instance is your sonic thumbprint. It's where you take the good sound, you put your finger on the stamp, and then with that ink on your finger, you put your thumbprint on the paper. And that's where you take the euphonic link and you make it your own. So that's the basic difference there, if that was too confusing. So you got the sonic thumbprint, and you take all of these sonic thumbprints that you've brainstormed, and you just play this matching game where you take the sounds from over here, you combine it with the words over here, and the ideas, the main sentences, the 10-word or fewer sentences that describe each stanza, and you just ask yourself, what would be a good fit? What combines well? What kind of words showed up in different sonic thumbprints that would tell this story well? What kind of sounds do I want to do? And this is a huge part of the creative process. This is where you're putting it all together, and you're going to fill out and you're going to build each stanza. I don't recommend making the stanzas super long, especially at first. Usually 4 to 6 lines is pretty good. If you go any longer than that, except for with raps, you're probably going to need, it's probably time to change things up and give a little more dynamism by switching to a pre-chorus or a chorus or a verse or something. But yeah, that's step 7. Step number 8, you look back over this masterpiece you've made and you notice, oh my gosh, it's actually not perfect yet. Surprise, surprise. So you're going to now revise for unity, sound, and clarity. These are the 3 things you're looking for. Unity, does it tell one story? Sound, when I say this out loud or put it to music, do the sounds that I've chosen, do they sound good? Is there too much rhyme? Is there not enough rhyme? Is there like some alliteration here that really is a little bit distracting? Or does this verse just sound very, very bland because it's just, very repetitive or something like that? And then you ask about clarity. Now, this one's something that people will definitely disagree on a little bit. Typically, in the songs that I listen to from beginning artists, I really like to see a song where I can connect with the intended meaning from the artist, because I want to hear what they have to say. If it's super confusing, sometimes that's good because people can ascribe their own meaning. But other times, if it's just very, very vague, I don't really have the super deep emotional connection to the story that's being told. And so different situations will call for different responses, but I think it is valuable to be able to say that it is clear. And then you ask yourself, what do others think? You can go show it to friends or family, whoever your intended audience is. Stephen King used to write, or does write, every one of his novels for his wife. If his wife likes it, he's good to go. If his wife doesn't like it, he goes back to the drawing board. For you, that muse or that person might be yourself, and that is quite all right as well. The final question you need to ask yourself is, are there parts you're holding on to that just aren't the best? And what I call these, what most people call these, are your darlings. And you have to be willing to kill your darlings, which sounds a little bit violent, but the basic idea is that everyone has these little things that they just love that they put in there, and they just felt so clever when they put it in there, or it just felt so good. But then they look back over it and they're like, oh, I don't know if that really fits the vibe that the song now is going for. The good news is you don't have to actually kill your darling. You just have to kidnap it and move it somewhere else. Save it for another song. All right. But just make sure that you're not letting your pet favorite pieces of your song get in the way of the song being what you eventually want it to be. All right. Mercier. Yeah. Oh, yep. I had to do that recently. It's painful when it does it, when we have to do it. And that's the reason that we call it killing our darlings. It's not that fun. It really sucks, actually. Then finally, we get to the ultimate decision. Now remember, the goal of the magical songwriting process is to write a good song. So each one of these options still points us to a good song. A good song is a song that we learned from, that we grew from, or one that we want to share with other people, or one that was good for ourselves. So do we keep the song? Do we say, hey, maybe a few more tweaks, let's put it to music, let's put it out there, let's go? That's obviously what most people probably prefer to have happen. But another valid option is to say, hey, I'm going to sit on it. I want to think about these lyrics. I'm going to put it in a drawer for a week. If you come back to a song after a week or a month or even a couple of years, in some dramatic cases, you will have fresh eyes and you'll be able to see your song not from your own perspective, but from other people's perspectives, because you'll have changed and grown and you'll be more emotionally disconnected from the song. And so you can try to, make it a little bit better. Now, a lot of people write songs for personal expression. And so the point is not to have a technically excellent song or a song that tells a good story or even a song that connects with other people. So, maybe every song you write, you just say, hey, I'm good to go. That was a song. That was fun. That's totally okay. Again, it goes back to what was your goal? And finally, probably my favorite, but not the best option. My favorite, just for its uniqueness, is pick the bones. Thanks, Selma. Pick the bones. And basically what picking the bones means is you say, this song is a complete wreck and a nightmare. I don't ever want to touch the song again. I don't even want to work on it. I don't want to wait and see what happens. I just want to throw it away. Don't throw it away. Remember, you've still learned something and you've still grown through this process, but you could still pull good things from it. Generally, the ratio that I give people is that 1 out of every 20 ideas is good. 1 out of every 20 song ideas is good. 1 out of every 20 rhymes is good. 1 out of 20 uses of alliteration is really good. 1 out of every really clever phrases is good, right? And as you get better, your ratio will start to go up. Maybe, Ed Sheeran started out at 1 out of 20, and now maybe he's at like 5 out of 20 or 6 out of 20 or something like that. And sometimes you have a hot streak where every idea just feels really good. And then for a while, you don't feel like any ideas are very good. But in this case, your song probably still has some really good stuff in it. So look over all your journaling, look over your notes, look over your brainstorming of sounds, and go through with a highlighter and highlight the things you actually like. And you need to put those in your lyric bank. A lyric bank is a notebook or a document or something where you keep good ideas. So they don't have to be, you could have a list of all the good song ideas. You could have a list of all the good rhymes. In the past, in my lyric bank, I've put, really complicated rhymes that I came up with, like 3 or 4 syllable rhymes that I thought were really cool, or a song idea that I really liked. And basically, you just need to pick the bones. You need to go through this dead song and all the things that you use to make it and pull out all the things that you still like. Pull out your darlings, save them for later. So next question that we have, or next thing is why? Why do we write songs? And the basic idea for this is that it's down to you. It's really up to you why you write songs. But it's so important to understand why you write songs before you start writing. Otherwise, I guarantee you will be frustrated, because just so many people, I think they say, hey, writing songs is a good thing, let's go do it. And then they're just disappointed, but they don't know why. And so my suggestion to you guys is just that you know why you're writing songs. And then you remind yourself of that every time you start to get frustrated, and you just keep going back to that. If it's just for fun and you're not having fun, you should stop, or you should find a way to make it fun. If it's for self-therapy, but you just keep feeling traumatized, you should probably stop or find a way to make it less traumatic. If you're trying to write something that's really beautiful and that just feels like it's an expression of yourself and you want to share it with other people, I mean, then, you know, maybe you've come to my Patreon for the purpose of being able to do that. And I'm glad that you guys are here. Or, you know, whatever the case is, books that you're reading, other stuff, whatever. Quick interruption. April is here. April, come on in.
I just want to steal my textbooks.
Wait, you just want to steal your textbooks?
Yeah, that's all I'm here for.
Wait, I'm trying to get you on the screen before you go. Hey, there's April. Ha ha ha.
Hey.
This camera right here.
Hello, friends.
April's getting textbook because she has homework to do.
Woo. Did you just have a big Y on your screen? It just says Y.
Why?
You having an existential crisis. Why the world? Why?
It's why we write song lyrics.
Oh, that's less dramatic.
Jordan says, hey.
Hi, Jordan. Do you want Galaxy?
And so does Mercier. Yeah, you can leave Galaxy in here. She's helping me.
Hi, everybody that says
Satsu
hi.
says, hey.
You're all wonderful.
Okay, bye. All right. Let's see. Where am I? Stop doing that. There we go. Application window. Boom. Back to it, people. We got to get back to it. More work. Work harder. Thanks, Sandra, for saying hi, too. So, yeah, you've got to decide your why. You've got to come back to it. If you take nothing away from this, you got to have your why. Salma, definitely pass that on to her as well. And really, if I can recommend a couple of whys for you guys, it would be these guiding values: growth, happiness, and serving others. Are you growing as a person, as a songwriter, as a human being when you're writing music? If so, that is a great goal to have. Happiness. Is it self-therapy? Are you enjoying the process? Is it a fun thing to do? If so, great. Is it helping other people? A lot of what Tyler Joseph does is helping other people, even though it's not always fun for him, though he has talked about it being a form of self-therapy, and I'm sure it's a form of growth to songwrite. But the fact that other people connect with that and feel emotional catharsis as a result means a lot to him and his creative process. So I would say that these three are three very valuable reasons to look at songwriting and to just inform why you write your own songs. Now, the big giant caveat that I'm going to give you guys, and we're going to go ahead and cut to my face again as we get into the Q&A. The big caveat that I would give is that everybody's songwriting process is going to be different. You're going to be different than Salma. Satsu's going to be different from Mercier. Jordan's going to be different from Nathan. And you're all going to be different from me, and I'm going to be different from you. So if any of this stuff, any of this process just seems, you know, outrageous, or it doesn't fit in your creative process, or maybe you're just a little bit more organic, or maybe you have the ideas and you have the sounds and they come more intuitively, great. Cut out some of those steps of the songwriting process, but pick the ones that are helpful to you. So some of you don't have problems with the brainstorming process. You know what you want to write about. You've already narrowed it. So go straight to the brainstorm and refine step where you journal about it. Maybe you've already journaled about it. So what you really need to do is simplify it. Maybe you don't need to outline it because it's just one long rap, which you could still outline it then. But you just want to put it out there and you want it to be very stream of consciousness. Well, skip the outlining step. But these are the 9 steps of lyric writing. If you've already got one or you just want to skip one, great. But at some point or another, you're going to be using 1 more, 2, 3, 4 more, or all of these steps. And I think that it really helps if you get stuck or get writer's block, or you're worried that your lyrics aren't matching their goal or something like that, to just go back and review the logical flow that fits there. So I hope that this little surprise Pop Song Professor lecture has been helpful to you guys. Go ahead and hit me up with some comments or some questions in the chat about the process if you have any. I'm going to go through some questions that people gave earlier before this whole thing started. And then we'll wrap up here within about 20 minutes. So, and also, I'm super glad that you guys are here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the Patreon and our community, and just for giving good advice to each other, for being willing to share your songs with each other. And thank you for wanting to be the kind of people who want to put more good lyrics out in the world. I love that about you, and that is why I want to support you. So that is why we're all here, I guess. Let's see. Questions. Nathan F. Let's see. Nathan F asks, what is the first piece of literature or lyrics that made you cry? That is a really good question, and I'd love to hear you guys answer it. Anthony, glad that you're here. Anthony and everybody else, I'd love to hear, what was the first song or piece of literature that made you cry? Holding On to You by 21 Pilots definitely made me cry. And then as far as other tears being wept, oh gosh. I feel like David Copperfield was a very emotional experience for me. Shoot, they are here. Maybe Blue Like Jazz by Donald Miller. It's this giant bookshelf over here. That, well, I'll mess up my camera if I try to move it. The Idiot by Dostoevsky. Like, there's these books, and it comes back to a question that we'll be asking later, that really spend a lot of time. They're very intense and deep, and they earn the emotional event that happens at the end. There's a song about Enneagram 3s by Atlas, I think, or Atlas Shrouded, or I'm not sure what the band's name is. That also made me tear up a little bit. So I don't know if that answers your question fully. I don't remember what the first one was, but those are some of the ones I remember. Do you get emotionally attached to what you write? Yes. And then if people try to criticize it, I kind of like bristle up and I'm like, but it's perfect. It feels wonderful. Not everybody's problem, just the problem of the more vain or egotistic among us, apparently. Other times I'm like, it's crap. But if I think something's like this little perfect ball of this little bowl that I've made out of clay or something that's so wonderful and well shaped, and then somebody criticizes it, I'm like, yeah, well, you just don't understand art. And then I have to be humbled. And I remember actually, I take a week break from it. I look back and I'm like, oh, yeah, it doesn't look so good. But I do get emotionally attached, and there are certain, I would say that usually my process, and you probably will notice from the way that I've taken the songwriting process and categorized it and described it and split it and everything, my process is usually a little bit more analytical. So I probably get less emotionally attached than the average person, but what I get really emotional about is the journaling process. And then I'll take that, process it, and put it into a song perspective, or a poem perspective. You feel as if writing for yourself is different to how you write about yourself for an audience. Yes. If I think that I'm going to share something, it is definitely going to be careful. And what I say here is just maybe comparing my journaling. I don't even feel like I'm completely honest with myself in my journaling sometimes. Everybody's got things they don't like about themselves. And so there are just things that I'm like, man, I don't like that about myself. And I don't want to go too deep into that because that would just be too depressing. And so yeah, it can be really tough. But I will say that when I made that poem that I shared with everybody for 100,000 subscribers, I was brutally honest about some things. And I just tried to be just no BS, just put it out there. And that did feel really good. Those are all Nathan Flanagan's questions, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it because his internet was being stupid. Let's see. Going back to your guys' questions, this is people talking about songs that made them cry. Jordan, this is probably a really silly one, but I think it was called Song for Guy by Elton John, who has a pretty good lyricist. Yeah. Anthony D'Onofrio. Sorry, they don't know how to pronounce that. Addict with a Pen. Yeah, I can see that. And then Zalma says, Numb or Breaking the Habit by Linkin Park. Yeah. All right. Nathan asks, you often talk about having to earn a dramatic line. Can you give some examples of songs that have earned their dramatic lines and just elaborate on what you mean? Yeah. So I was looking at this right before we started today, and I think that Car Radio was actually, just trying to think of easily accessible songs. I think Car Radio does that. Because, well, okay. So 2 examples. One, the scream. If you just start out a song screaming, then you are going to lose people. And that emotion that the scream speaks to is something that he's been building up to, and he's been preparing us for by talking about the kind of thing that he's thinking about until it just erupts in this like inhuman scream in the middle, the sort of middle end. And so he's earned that scream because we know why he feels the way he does. If he just screamed and then he started to explain it, we'd be like, that was a nice scream, I guess. And you could play it off that way. You could have a different effect where you scream. Oh, hello. Who is there? Malu, is that you?
Yeah.
Welcome. Glad you can make it.
I was on YouTube, but now I decided to join to hang out.
Welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right. So I'll just keep going through the questions, and if you want to add anything, feel free. And anybody else who's hanging out with us too. But yeah, like I was saying, I think Car Radio really earns that. And then another line that they earn, or Tyler earns, is in the bridge. He says, "Now I just sit in silence." And now I just sit in silence. We don't know where the silence comes from. We don't know why he's just sitting. We don't know why the now shows that something happened before. The just means he's not doing something else. And so there's all these very dramatic words that show this change, but we don't know where it came from. And so I think, and he's not necessarily super cheesy or cliche with the "now I just sit in silence." But I could see somebody using that line in a very cheesy way. And so it's a good example of having to like earn that drama. Nathan also asks, how can I stop my songs from sounding cringy or like I'm a first-year creative writing student, like really pretentious and pompous? 2 ways that I will give you. Number 1, you got to write a lot. You have to accept the fact that you are going to write stuff like that. And you just have to get through it. And then number 2, you just got to be more honest. And you probably feel like you're trying to be really honest, but you're probably, what I find, if I am feeling too pretentious and I look back at what I've written or said or done, typically, maybe I've said something that I was deep and honest about, but I'm overthinking how I'm putting it out there, and I'm trying to still get people to look at it in a certain light. And so I'll do a Hemingway, and Hemingway was an American author who would just write things super simply, bare bones. And I'll just say the thing without any decoration, and I'll start from there instead of starting from what comes naturally to me first, which is probably a little bit more pretentious or makes me sound a little bit cooler. I'll just say the specific thing, get rid of all the adjectives, all the adverbs. I'll just have some verbs and some nouns, just explain it as clearly and simply as possible. And then I will build onto that. So I start from a good place rather than from, maybe a pretentious place. Whew. Let's see. Everybody doing good so far? Oh, Anthony fixed my pronunciation. Thank you very much. D'Onofrio. Yes. Okay. I feel like I've got it. Tell me if I got it wrong though. All right. Yeah, and I'm through about half the questions, and then we'll turn it over for new questions that you guys might have or questions here in the Hangout. So I'll just keep marching through these. I'll try to, how do you straddle the line of satirical and serious without being too niche? Well, I don't necessarily think that there's a huge problem with being too niche. Again, it goes back to your goal. Who are you writing for? But I wouldn't be afraid of being niche. Satirical and serious, really, honestly, if you're going to be satirical, I think a good person to first write for is yourself, and then find somebody else who you think is similar to you, ask them if they understand what you're writing, and then maybe pull back a little bit if they think that it's too I guess niche is the right word, but just too much. Yeah. I want to answer that question a little bit better. I think like an example song would be helpful in talking about that, Dean. But satirical and serious. Yeah, it sounds like kind of a unique problem. Save that question and let's talk about that some more. And maybe with a little bit of an example, I can kind of see where you're coming from, because I think it's an interesting question. You say, how do you know the differences between trope and cliches, or recommended to avoid tropes? Yeah, typically a trope is also kind of a bad thing. It's sometimes people might use it less damnably or damning in a less damning way than cliches themselves. But tropes typically are like they're going to kind of be cliches, but they're like elements of the story. Like this character who does this thing, the young orphan character who has a magical sword. That's a trope of the fantasy genre. Cliches are kind of tropes of life in general, whereas tropes are going to be more like genre specific. So the country song trope of having a truck, something like that. I would recommend avoiding both of them. Sometimes people will dive into them for fun, to like poke fun at the tropes, and that gets a little satirical, and that can be really fun. But it's good to be self-aware when you use the tropes or the cliches that they are. You can usually get away with 1 or 2 in a song, but it's definitely something to be careful about. Sama then, who is actually here, which is great, because I don't think anybody else who's asked questions was actually able to make it here. So Sama, let's answer some of your questions. Can almost any poem become a song if music were added to it? Yeah, I don't see why not. And what's the one main thing that's different between a song lyrics and a poem? Okay, so that's a really good question. And it's that song lyrics have the music to rely on. And so a lot of the poetry can come through the music. I really like my song lyrics to still have a lot of sound correlation in them, like with poetry. But poetry it's not always, but it is often more reliant on the sound correlations, just because it doesn't have the music to back it up. So it's even more important to have those there. But in music and lyrics, you can use the music to beef up the lyrics and to kind of stretch things out, or to stretch out a syllable or something like that. Usually I would just say that song lyrics are more forgiving than poems. Poems, you have so much less you're working with, and so you have to be more exact with what you do have. In song lyrics, you can kind of stretch the boundaries a little bit.
There is a singer here where I'm from, and his music is basically poems most of the time.
Oh yeah,
it gets kind of deep. Yeah, I would, I don't know, maybe say something like recommend, but only if you like search like a translation or something like that, because he's Brazilian, so his songs are Portuguese,
oh okay.
all in Portuguese, but he's got some kind of deep lyrics, I think, and something makes you really, really think.
Do you think you could send us a link to a song by him with maybe some of the translated lyrics? I would be really interested in
I'll
hearing that.
search for you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Molly.
There's one song that I think makes you think a lot. I think it's one of the most. It's called Translating It the Least. And he basically says about, he goes really in the topic of, like, he starts like make a list of all the friends who used to talk a lot in the past, and do you still talk to them? And he goes from there, like all like secrets you used to keep, now they're stupid, maybe. It's kind of this kind of vibe, and I personally think it's make you think a lot.
And so kind of talking about the past and how things have changed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Please do send it. Yeah.
I'll send it.
Awesome.
I'll search for you. I'll post it on, I'll send a link on the Patreon Songwriters. I don't know, or the community. I'll search somewhere that I think that I saw a translation once, but if I find it, I'll post in the community or the Songwriters group. I don't know.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect.
I'm so confused. What's happening?
Hey, who's there?
It's me, Nathan. My internet is back.
Hey, hi. Nathan, welcome.
It's not taking the last 10 minutes for me. It's not breaking my heart. It's not doing it again.
I'm so glad that you were able to make it, man. Yeah, so you missed the lecture, and then you missed the answer to the questions that you had earlier. And we are just picking up some other previous questions, and then any other questions people have. And then we're almost done. You got here at just the last minute.
Fuck's sake. So I said that to my friend. I said, watch now, the second they're about to finish, and everything came back, and I was like, what's the bets now? I'll join. And it'll just start calling everyone because they all left. I'll be like, oh, okay.
I'm glad that you were able to make it for this part. But yeah, so I'll just jump into a couple more of these questions, and there's not this next one. If you have thoughts on this one, I'd love to hear. But the third one, or the final question from earlier, is from Salma, and it's a really good question. So I'll just go through this other one quickly. She asks how to shorten lines if they look too long on paper. And sometimes I think that the short answer to that is either to get rid of a lot of words or to cut them in half. It doesn't really matter if they are too long. A lot of people have really longs in their songs, and it's really down to what you want to do. But this other question here is, she says, when I started studying filmmaking, we never knew when was the proper time to call ourselves a filmmaker. The director told her that you can call yourself a filmmaker whenever you want, but in order to earn the title, you have to make your first short or featured film. So her question for us then was, when do you think is a proper time for you to call yourself a songwriter? How do you know when you are a songwriter? So
I think when you don't exactly have to publish your work, but as long as you make it, like I write lyrics, I don't really have much time to write music because it's college, home, change, work, and it's that and that. But in my head, I can have something. So I don't exactly think you need to show everybody, but at least have some sort of publication.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think publication, like having put it out there somewhere, can be a good way. I think for sure, once you've like put a song out there that you've tried to show other people, But at the same time, I know that there are songwriters who write like tons and tons of lyrics that never show anybody. And I think it has more, it's like more of a heart thing for me personally, I think, where you're like whatever it takes to prove to yourself that you're a songwriter, when you do that, then you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
I think that go on.
I think it's more about like really putting the time and effort into it. If you really want to like be a songwriter, you can always be a songwriter. But if you like just if you really put your free time or just really your heart into it, I think you can call yourself a songwriter, even though you've never published it. But if you've written a lot of songs and are really doing that, I think it's a worthy title to give yourself.
I think that even if you haven't published anything, but I don't think someone that's starting out can call themselves a songwriter, but you have to have like constantly trying and come up with things, and I don't know, have a couple songs written and try to always come up with new stuff, and you know.
Yeah, I actually heard this thing once. I don't remember where I heard it, but somebody said that once you have written a book, you're not an author. You have just written a book. Write another book, and ta-da, you're an author.
So maybe you have to write 2 songs.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's also like kind of a feeling thing. Like, if you write 100 songs and you don't think that you feel like a songwriter, then okay, you're not, if you don't want to be.
I think you kind of need to take it seriously.
Yeah. I think the very basic bottom line is, first question, have you written a song? Well, then yes, in one sense, you are a songwriter, but are you a songwriter? And once you've maybe written a couple and you do take it seriously, maybe you're currently taking it seriously. Like somebody could have been a songwriter and then stopped being a songwriter because they haven't written anything in 10 years. So I think you could kind of lose the title there. But yeah, it's a really like tricky question. I think you guys all have some really good thoughts on that.
Like the first ever song that I came up with was with some friends. It was a joke, basically. It was a joke, but that was what gave me like, oh, this might be cool. So I might start doing it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, another question from Anthony. He asked, what is your process for choosing singing or rapping for a section? More stylistic? Is it emotional? Is it word count? So what do you guys think? How many of you guys, first of all, have written raps before?
Me.
Yes, I know you
have, I guess.
So how do you...
I never did.
Oh, yeah? No? We could.
No, I'm not really into rapping, so it doesn't really fit my style, I guess.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. So for those of you who have written raps before, how do you, and maybe if you haven't written a rap, why do you pick singing and not try rapping?
Basically, I think it all depends on the message.
Yeah.
Like if I'm trying to write something that I really want to connect with someone, you know, on a personal level, I might not rap. If it's still a strong message and I want it to flow a bit more, I might rap it. It also depends on my mood, because if I'm really depressed, it's like, I don't want to rap today. Whereas if I'm feeling a bit more, you know, I need to get this message out here, I need people to notice, I might add in a rap. Like, what was the lyrics I released the other day? I'm really bad at this. I need to get on top of this. I'm so bad. Something about that rape topic I've been trying to write about. And I think I put a rap in it because it was more anger. It was more, right, this kind of needs to become a bit more upbeat rather than relaxed and slow.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Sometimes it just feels like it's easier to communicate a certain message one way or the other.
Yeah, plus, not to mention, when you look at your videos and you're like, the sounds, it can be really good practice. You may not use the rap, but when the sounds can still, I can't remember what they're called, man. I'm really bad at this. But as long as you have that kind of rhythm, whether you're singing or rapping, it sounds great, you know?
Yeah, and I will say that for sound correlations, sonic thumbprints, euphonic link, that stuff, if you compare rap, poetry, and just like normal singing, raps will definitely have the highest amount of sound correlations in them typically, because it's kind of the opportunity to be clever and to really draw a lot of connections. And that doesn't mean that every rap is going to be like that, but on average, raps will have more of those just sounds connecting, because you put so many words in there, you have that sense of unity.
Yeah, I think I mostly use raps when I want to like tell like really a lot. Like if I don't feel like I could put that in like one verse or something, I usually go for raps and then just try to make it flow and sound good. Because I don't really want to, like, I want to put it in there, but I don't want all the attention to go like to the lyrics, because if you rap, it's not, you can't follow it on first try. You get me? So it's not like that important to the song, but I still want to put it in there, and I still think it's important, and I just want like a lot. I have a lot of tell mostly when I write raps, because it's a lot of words. So I mostly use it in that way. It's more about like the story, I guess, for me.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, no, that's really good. And I think
that I haven't written many things, so I never really, I don't know, felt like I needed to write a rap. And I think that if I was to, I don't really listen to many songs that has raps in it, and I don't know. I think I might find it kind of difficult, maybe because I don't know English. Even though I think my English is good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that if I were to rap, it was going to be like really, really fast for me. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a question I had. I don't know if this is the proper time to ask that question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of trouble with like because I'm not native speaker English. It's hard for me because I don't want to write songs in my own language because I don't really like it, just the way it sounds. So
which is Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I go for
what's your native language?
Dutch.
Dutch.
I'm from the Netherlands. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But so I have a lot of problem sometimes with like putting my thoughts into words because I don't really have like the vocabulary of like a native English speaker. So it's really hard for me to it's harder for me to write songs because of that. And you don't really have experience with it, I guess, because
I got you.
So it's really hard for me to do that, and I don't really know how to like solve it if I want to say something, but I don't know the words for it.
Yeah.
I think
send the lyrics right on the cliff.
I definitely know what you mean.
Let that English professor. I hate messaging you sometimes because I feel like my grammar's a bit crap, and I feel like you're correcting it in your mind. I'm like, I hope he doesn't take offense.
No, never.
But I know what you mean. My native language is Portuguese, so I don't have that many vocabulary as well sometimes. And
it's just hard.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like writing Portuguese as well. I don't know why. I think I've always listened more to songs in English, even though there's a lot of Brazilian artists that I really, really like. But I don't know. I think that one thing that I also think is, I don't know, maybe if I were to write in my native language, I would feel more vulnerable. Maybe, I don't know. I have this feeling.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I don't know why.
Oh, I have a question.
I think because your native language is more close to you than when you learn like a second language or so.
Yeah, I guess so.
Gotcha.
And if you're like with people around, you can still like act like they don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
I wanted to show you guys something that maybe will be a little bit encouraging to you. And I don't know where you would be on this chart or something like that. But this website, pudding.cool, makes these really cool infographics. A lot of times I talk about song lyrics. But basically, these are how many, they like analyze a certain number of words within the artist's raps. And these are all rap artists, so it won't be relevant to everybody. But they basically analyze to see how many unique words they had or how big their vocabulary was and how many different words they used. So for reference, Shakespeare, great British playwright. His vocabulary is pretty high, and then there's some people over here whose vocabulary is really high, but like Drake is right here. So
I really didn't think that he would be liking Shakespeare. So
yeah, no. And then there's a lot of other people who are like really good examples of people. Well, Kanye West is right there. Wiz Khalifa was to the left. There's Snoop Dogg. I think Eminem is somewhere kind of in the middle. Oh, there's Eminem right there. So you don't have to have like a huge vocabulary to be able to like write decent songs. Now we could argue about whether all of Drake's songs are decent or not. Some of them are just not that great. But at the very least, my guess is that all of you probably have bigger vocabularies than Drake at this point. So you're doing okay.
That's
Okay,
great.
nice. But it's still kind of a struggle to come up with those words, because I've come to a point where I actually think in English, which is really weird to think about, because I still speak Dutch in my my daily life, but I still think in English. So it should be easier, but it's harder to actually come up with those words if you're actually searching for it. So I think everybody has that problem, even though you're native. Just if you want to write a word, I have the problem that I just can't come up with it.
Yeah, I've had a few native speakers reach out to me and say, like, I have this feeling and these ideas, but how do I find the words to say them? And that is probably one of the most difficult like obstacles to come up against. I know that something that's really cool is that I think out of everybody in the live chat right now, or in the live like video, I think I Saul might be from the States, but I think everybody else is from a different country.
Yeet.
Which is awesome. So, and I think a couple of people already mentioned.
Yeah, I'm from the States.
Okay, cool. So not counting me, you guys are all from all different places. That's really cool. But, and maybe Saul, you can speak to this too, but what do you do when you don't have the words that you need? What is the solution for you personally?
Rhymezone.com.
Yeah.
Fact, don't even lie, boys. Don't even lie.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Rhymezone.com.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think I've already searched it once.
It's a great site. It's brilliant.
Sometimes you can't come up with things by yourself, so
yeah.
I
can't say it like
a
that.
word. I feel.
I've gone there many times myself as well, and I love that they do like multi-syllable rhymes.
Yeah,
that's like so cool. I don't even know how they do it. That just seems like it'd be a nightmare to try to program.
Are people here afraid to be personal in their lyrics?
I'm still learning.
Yeah, I guess so, because I haven't actually published a song yet, because I haven't gotten to that point yet. But I'm actually scared about when that happens, because I know like a lot of people of my school follow me, and I don't know why, but it's really scary to put something out there that's so personal for like also my family and stuff. It's just hard, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell a quick story.
I created a YouTube channel once. I don't know, one video posted. I posted one cover, but lots of my close friends doesn't know about it. I'm just like, they don't know it. Just like maybe 3 of my close friends, and a few that are not even from where I live, so I don't see them at school or anything like that. I don't want the people from my school to find out, because there's this thing here in Brazil, the classes, we don't change classes. The teachers change and go to the classrooms. Oh. We have like what we study, we don't choose.
Oh, okay.
So we've got like all the maths, physics, biology, and all the things, and have the same people in the classrooms. And the people that I study with, they're like, they go kind of crazy, and they usually search videos and post, I don't, on the screen, the front of on the board.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they think like there's a guy from my classroom. His father owns a supermarket here, so they put like the advertisement there, And maybe there's a video of one of the boys that posted on YouTube. I think it's 2011, and they put it there, and I was just like, I don't want them to find out about it and post on them. I don't want it there. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I find that so strange because I'm so used to being. If I'm not too personal with my lyrics, I'll post lyrics of like, "Ah, lads, look at this really traumatic event. See us, that's the look." And everyone talking is just like, Jesus Christ, someone get him to a therapist and like, enjoy this past life of mine. So I need lyrics.
I'm still searching the confidence to show to close friends of mine. I shown to a few close friends. They liked it. I think that's great.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I remember I was trying to write a novel, and it was a fantasy novel, and it had a lot of tropes and a lot of cliches, and it wasn't very good. I've still got it somewhere, but I didn't tell my parents for like the longest time. I think I had already like drafted the whole thing before I told like I'd probably told like 2 people in the whole world, but I would just go up into my room and I would write this novel because I was just too embarrassed of what like anybody might think. And then finally, like, Dad walked into the room when I was writing it one day, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Son, you gotta show me what you're doing." And so I ended up having to show him. But other than that, I don't know when I would have told people, because it's nerve-wracking, man.
Yeah, it's like I also have a YouTube channel, and I didn't want people to find out, but they just did. I don't know why, but they just found out just suddenly. So like a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel." I was like, "I didn't know you knew." And
surprise.
So he was like, "Yeah, some dude told me so." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And so he found out about it, and like people just of my whole school just knew about it suddenly. And I was like, "Okay, this is really embarrassing," but nobody talked about it. So I was like, "Whatever. It's probably all right. I'm probably not that cringy as I think I am, so that's great."
Oh, yeah.
Something that I learned through performing. I'm a performer. I'm not sure if it really translates over to lyric writing and showing people that stuff. But when I first started, I had like extreme stage fright, and I was always worried about getting on stage and my voice cracking or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And something that somebody told me when I first started was that most people can't do what you can do. And when they see what you do, they respect your talent, and they respect that you're able to relay your feelings out in this certain way. And
yeah,
that's also something I learned, because I know a lot of people also do the same thing at my school. So like literally other girls who also post covers on YouTube, and I respect them. Like I've always respected them like a lot, because I was like, how do you get the courage to do that? But now I'm like that person, and still I feel really embarrassed and think people are going to judge me, but I never judge them, so why should they judge me? So it's really weird, but it's still in your head, so it's hard to it's
hard to convince yourself that you're doing great.
But if you think about it, if say you perform in a stage right in front of 5,000 people, you know nobody, compared to playing in front of 5 people you do know. At the end of the day, I think you'd be more scared performing in front of those 5 people because they matter.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're playing in front of 5,000 people and they are your fans, and maybe you do care, maybe you really like them, suddenly it doesn't mean as much because you won't be seeing them again, you know?
Yeah.
So even if they hated your performance and your lyrics and your drummer was shy and this and that, you won't really mind as much. So I think if you go up there with that, now that never really worked for me. I still walked up on stage and I'd have a panic attack and I'd get off stage and I'd go puke and I'd come back and be like, round 2.
So yeah, I feel like so Sunday there was like the presentation from the music school that I go to. We had the presentation, and I'm completely fine of being on a stage. But when I went to present like on my school's talent show, kind of, that was kind of frightening, because one, I was there alone on stage playing 2 songs. And the friend of a lot of people, I don't know, maybe how like people playing with you, that's gets, I don't know, it's better.
Yeah, that's true.
And but I think the thing on school is it's a lot of people, and I know a lot of them, and I don't really like them.
Yeah, no, but that's no, but like I do theater as a hobby, so I actually do theater lessons. So I've like performed, like if you do theater, you have to perform.
I do theater at my school as well.
Yeah,
Even the presentation, I was one of the main characters. And but I don't have stage fright. I've been doing music studying music and presenting for I think 5 years now, or almost 6 years.
Yeah.
So they have like a mid of the year a presentation, the final of the year. That was this one. There was in the theater here. The mid of the year, we go like to kind of a bar, something like that. It's less people.
Yeah.
But and I did dance classes a lot when I was younger, so I've been on stage for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so I don't have, but everything you do on stage, it's different. It's different. You're going for dancing. It's different. You're going for playing. It's different going for acting. It's totally different.
Sandra,
but
it's
really cool.
Yeah. So I want to say that like I do theater, so I have performed for a lot of people, but those are strangers. But when I have to do like a presentation in front of my class, like just for school, I am scared to death. Like I cannot do that. I don't know why, but I just I've stayed home from school because I didn't want to do a presentation, because like I am so scared of what my class is going to think of me. And if I just perform, but also like performing like theater is different than like a presentation, because it's just a theater is like pretending to be someone else, and a presentation is just trying to get your talking skills. I'm not good at talking, so
yeah, I definitely can relate to that too.
I think another thing related to the presentation is that maybe, I don't know, people might ask questions and you don't know how to answer them.
Yeah, that is one. Yeah, what were you saying, Sandra?
You're a teacher. How can you have problems?
Yeah, I was about to say that he's a teacher. How's he
It's like you guys said. It's okay. So I'll keep it brief. But growing up, terrified of talking in front of people. But I was like, you know what? All the things that I want to do in life involve talking in front of people. So I should probably go and do it. So I would sign up for like every presentation or like opportunity to public speak that I could, so that I could just kind of like try to get better at it. I'm still terrified, but it kind of goes back to what Nathan said and you guys agreed with, is there's different types of audiences, and I'm nervous based on certain types of audiences. So like if I am giving a presentation to other professors who are older than me and who I work with, I'm terrified then. Like I was given a presentation to parents and professors at the beginning of the semester, and I was shaking. It was bad. But if I'm giving a presentation to students, then it's different, because like when you're in teaching mode, it's a different way of public speaking. And when you're in public speaking mode, then that's different too. And I just find public speaking terrifying, but speaking or teaching, I don't. So it's weird.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I wouldn't really worry about making mistakes, especially with presentations and on stage. There's two things I always go with. If you're going to make a mistake, make a fucking big one. And if you make a mistake, just keep going, because at the end of the day, chances are anyone who's listening to you probably hasn't A, heard the song before, or B, couldn't really care. So they're not going to know what's going to happen. So if I fuck up on the drums, I just continue playing, because they're like, oh, that was kind of cool that he did something. And on stage, I'm going, Jesus Christ, how could I do that?
I could tell what one of my music teachers said when I was in high school. Like, if you make a mistake while you're on the stage playing or singing, just say that it's jazz.
And maybe if you're like playing a song or something, they might think, even if they know the song, oh, they decided to do like, I don't know, a different version, create something, like improvise something in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, like I spent 3 years going to perform in front of like 1,000 people, and I was a mediocre keyboard player at best. And believe me, I fucked up so bad every time. Like, for example, I can't listen to Aha's Taken Me anymore because I fucked up on stage. Because can you imagine like that synth riff played with the like basic piano sound? Like, it was just terrible.
Really? Has anyone ever gotten the musician stare?
What?
You know, like it's you get it all the time, especially here anyway, where you say you make a mistake or anyone makes a mistake. I do it a lot without even thinking. If someone makes a mistake, every other motherfucker who's playing an instrument will look at you with the death stare.
Oh yeah.
I swear to God, you'll mess up and suddenly you'll see the glare of your guitarist going, "You son of a bitch."
I know that so well.
No, but like
you make a mistake, keep calm and go back on track.
Yep.
That's
yep.
it.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
talk. You made a mistake. Never.
Don't ever admit
Because
you
that's also one thing I learned because I'm a lot of on Discord. I don't have a life. That's basically it. But I'm a lot of on Discord, and it's like a singing Discord, so it's about practicing singing and stuff. And I just don't know what I'm doing there, but it's great. It's a great time. But there are a lot of people there. Like obviously you're going to make mistakes because that's human. You get me?
Yeah, it's human. Yeah.
So, but some people would actually, that's also what I did at first, would just say, shit, I messed up, and then just like say that. But if you, like a lot of time, if you don't say that, people aren't going to notice it because sometimes people mess up and they say, shit, I messed up. And I was like, really, you messed up? Okay, sure, you probably messed up. But if you're not saying that, like nobody will notice and nobody will actually care. So, just do your thing.
Don't point out your own mistakes.
Yeah. When I was like 2 years ago, there was this play we did at school, and at the end of every play, my teacher had like everyone sits at the end of the stage and have a talk with the audience. So there was, I don't know, a woman that was congratulating us, and then one of my friends was like, no, it wasn't so good. This person messed up this part and this part and this part. And I was looking at her like, stop. No one noticed it. No one knows the script. No one knows it. Stop. Don't say we messed up. Please.
That's
no one knows
Your biggest performances would always be the biggest relief though when you're finished.
Yeah.
October, I had to play for my granddad's charity thing that we play every year since he passed away. And I was asked to play a song with the band. And I was like, yeah, easy song, handy. But right before I was going to play, a month before I was going to play, my dad turns to me and he goes, by the way, this was the last song your nan and granddad danced to before he died. Good luck. And I was like, oh, fuck, sweet Jesus Christ. Why would you lay that on me now? Please, God. And it was so terrifying, but it was the biggest. The second I finished, I felt great.
Last year, I was to sing in the end the same presentation I did like Sunday. Last year, I was going to sing Always by Bon Jovi, and the owner of the school, she was my teacher once at one point in the past, my piano teacher, and she was like, you don't mess up the song. It's my favorite song. You need to get it right. It's not like I couldn't do it, but it's kind of intimidating.
That's all.
But everything turned right.
That's good. That's really good. All right. Well, hey, we have been on here for a little while, and I got to get to some grading tonight because it is finals week. But this was super fun. I'm glad that you guys all showed up, and I felt like we had a really good conversation. So thanks for being here.
Oh, Cliff, I found the lyrics that I told you about.
Oh, great. Okay.
Which group do you want me to send the link?
You can share them in either group. Either group works fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking forward to checking those out. But so I'm going to sign off. You guys are welcome to keep talking if you want. But I'm going to go get that grading done. And yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck, dude.
Are you guys interested in doing something like this again in the future?
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
If my internet doesn't break my heart again, then yes.
Yeah, and maybe just like I don't know how what time it is for you guys, but it's currently 11:30 p.m. for me, and I have school tomorrow, so this is great to be honest.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
early
it's
for college.
already past midnight here. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
But
like, I don't.
For me,
I have
it's-
school really late tomorrow, so it's not a problem for me right now. But just
What's a better time?
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I don't know. I could have
Yeah.
college the next day at 9 a.m. and I'd still be here at 5 a.m. like dead. I can't wait. For
I'm
this to start.
currently on holiday, so I'm fine.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, lucky you.
I feel like Saturday early afternoon seem to be
Schools
the
here
best.
go from
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
I work
yeah.
Saturdays. Don't do this to me.
Oh, dang it.
Oh yeah.
Well, what I'll probably do is I'll probably like move these around a little bit. Like I'll do the present, like, you know, we have the lyric critique. Sometimes we have a game time. Sometimes we'll do these lectures / Q&A / just general discussion. But I'll try to like mix it up a little bit and switch between like Saturdays and evenings during the week. Just
By the way, was this all recorded for me to
Yes.
watch?
Yep.
Oh, thank God. Thank fuck. Thanks be to Jesus.
Yeah. It'll take a sec for it to like process and everything, but it will be up within like 10 minutes after we finish. So.
By the way, Cliff, can you say this back to me? Let's pop to the gaff before we go to let's pop to the gaff before we go to the local for a few points.
Let's pop to the gaff before we go to the local for a few pints.
That's fucking brilliant.
Is that what I wrote to you?
I can't remember, but I just know that it's something along them lines.
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, I will talk to you guys all soon. Looking forward to it. And if you get a chance to welcome any of the new people who joined the group over this weekend, that would be awesome. We got quite a few new folks showing up, so
Yeet, yeet.
good times. All right, talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.